Hello friends, I am Dr. Kaleem Sheikh, Assistant Professor, Department of Zoology, Pune College of Arts, Science and Commerce, Camp Pune. In this lecture, we are going to talk on parasitology, specifically the introduction, scope of parasitology and different types of parasites and hosts and their ways of interactions. Parasitology is a dynamic field because the relationship between parasites and their hosts constantly are changing. Parasitism comprises an ecological relationship different species where the parasite's environment is another living organism. Unlike the environment of free living plants and animals, the environment of the parasite can fight back. Parasites and hosts are locked into a continuous struggle for survival, and understanding the mechanisms to gain advantage challenges parasitologists to understand biological phenomena at the cutting edge of a wide variety of scientific disciplines. As a result, parasitologists contribute significantly to our basic understanding of the way our biological world functions. A parasitologist doesn't just have to find out new parasite and tell the whole wide world about it. There are layers and variations to the occupation and that depends on the position that one is at and the area they have specialized in. There are several divergences in the opportunities that are available in the field of parasitology. First of all, we understand the meaning of parasitology. It is the study of parasites and their interactions with their hosts. Now see the scope of parasitology. First of all, we can see parasitology has a wide scope in different fields of the sciences, like a scope in medicine or in the medicinal field. Parasites are best known to the reason why many suffer illnesses and ailments. Insect parasites such as fleas and lice cause annoyance and as a vector of diseases such as the bubonic plague and typhus. They have carried along the diseases to cause death to quite a number in human population. Medical parasitology involves epidemiology, chemotherapy, which is the using of chemicals to treat ailments, immunology, which is the study of immune system, and pathology, which is the study of finding out diseases that aren't easily unidentified, and thus requires processes to be found. The field of public health is considered as a very close with that of medical parasitology. Healthcare professionals are employed by national, state, and the local governments and can work for international agencies such as the World Health Organization. In terms of the medical area, the parasitologists are at continuous struggle at work to understand diseases that are caused by the different parasites. Once this part is done, it becomes easier to incorporate treatments and methods to prevent the development and spreading of the diseases. The next field is the agricultural parasitology. Agricultural parasitologists study about parasites in plants and animals, research and understand about those who end up in the food sources for the humans. Parasites can be harmful not just by directly making the human bodies as hosts, but by following their food resources, like plants and animals, and the spreading diseases. Parasitologists concerned with the veterinary field look after the domesticated animals such as cattle, horses, fowls, as well as the companion animals, dogs and cats, and the animals that are used by humans for sport and the recreational activities. Plants can carry parasites and therefore they can be used as a biological control agent against crop insects, which can help curb a lot of loss. The wildlife parasitology, it deals with the understanding the natural habitats of the animals who live in the wild and finding out threats by parasites. They can disrupt the normal lives of and the work towards finding out these parasites that cause harm to these animals and develop strategies to prevent such cases. These parasitologists usually find work among the government agencies private industry or university surveys. Those who are involved with research and monitoring parasites in endangered species are called conservation biologists. The division of parasitologists who deal with parasites that are common among the fisheries and the aquatic population are called fishery biologists. So again, the parasitology have a scope in a pharmaceutical industries. Pharmaceutical firms provide a lot of career opportunities for parasitologists. They can work in the area of developing chemotherapeutic substances and understand the better uses of them. Developing such drugs can be used to diminish the spread of parasites in animals, plants, and human as well. Parasitology as an academic career, there is a scope. A career in academics when it comes to parasitology can be a golden opportunity for an aspiring researchers. With the presence of parasites in almost all living organisms, parasitologists have a wide knowledge about the biological systems and are capable biologists. A position as a professor in a university would provide many challenging opportunities for the aspirant as an educator and a researcher. The research opportunities are various because of the nature of parasites, which is find a host in any living beings. Generally unknown to the public, the field of parasitology has immense potential in the future. Now we can see the scope in agriculture, aquaculture, and the animal veterinary. Human health not only is affected directly by parasites that can infect humans, but also is affected indirectly by parasites that cause diseases in plants and animals that are used as a food for humans. The use of parasites as a biological control agents against crop insects holds much promise for increasing the agriculture production. Veterinary parasitologists care for domesticated animals used for food and work. They also care for companion animals. Veterinarian plays an indirect role in human health when they control parasites in non-human animals that are transmissible to humans. Animals used by humans for sport and recreation also require the services of veterinary parasitologists. Pharmaceutical companies are an important source of employment for parasitologists. In this capacity, parasitologists might work on the development of chemotherapeutic drugs to eliminate animal parasites, which is of major economic significance. The discovery of these antiparasitic drugs for domesticated animals not only has benefited the agricultural industry, but in some cases has aided humans when the same chemotherapeutic agents have been demonstrated to be effective in the treatment of diseases caused by the parasites. Now see some career avenues for parasitologists. In wildlife and fisheries, career opportunities exist for parasitologists who can assist wildlife managers in developing programs designed to protect animals in their natural environment. Parasitologists working for government agencies, industry, and universities survey wild animals for parasites and disease and develop strategies to reduce the negative impact of parasites on wildlife populations. Conservation biologists especially are interested in parasitic diseases of threatened species and endangered species and use that information to formulate management plan for their protection. Monitoring parasites in wild animals that are capable of being important function of parasitologists. Fisheries biologists need information on the role of parasites in causing fish diseases and the fish parasite human can acquire from the eating fish. These scientists also might use parasites data to understand aspects of natural fish populations, alteration of natural environment such as the damming of rivers, channelization of streams, and cutting of timber can affect important game species by altering parasite abundance, and the advice of parasitologists often is sought before making such decisions. Ecological and systematic parasitology. This exciting area of parasitology are rooted in the study of parasites, evolution, and their interactions with the environment through their hosts. This basic area of inquiry often lead to breakthrough in applied areas of parasitology with direct or indirect benefits to humans. The field of parasite taxonomy, the science of classifying the living things, and systematics, the study of the diversity of organism characteristics, currently are experiencing a resurgence of the activity because of new methods that recently have been incorporated into the discipline. Techniques developed by the molecular biologists have been applied to questions regarding relationship among taxonomic groups of parasites and the rare providing powerful new insights. The study of ecological aspects of host-parasite relationship has benefited greatly from the use of computer technology, vastly increasing the ability of parasitologists to quantify and analyze the dynamics of parasite populations. The tools of molecular biology also are being assimilated into the field of ecological parasitology, and the promise parasite life cycles, detection and identification of parasites, patterns of parasite transmission and colonization are extremely exciting. Applications of basic research in parasite systematics are likely to be forthcoming and will provide career opportunities for the parasitologist. Ecological parasitologists can assist medical parasitologists in assessing the potential role of global warming on public health by evaluating changes in patterns of parasite distribution and colonization. The biochemistry and molecular biology of parasites. Powerful technological advances have revolutionized the study of biology at the subcellular level. The promise of advances in parasitology from the application of these tools is great and will lead to many new career opportunities. The genetics of parasites can be explained at level never before possible using techniques such as polymerase chain reaction, molecular biology technique for the enzymatically replicating DNA without using a living organism such as E. coli or yeast. Many applications could come from enhanced knowledge of parasites genetics, including the development of diagnostic tools for the detection and the specific diagnosis of parasites. Immunoparasitology. In this field, the job opportunities for the immunologists who desire to work with parasites are likely to increase because of new technical developments in the field and because of new practical applications of that technology. One important thrust in parasite research today is the development of vaccines against parasites of human and domestic animals. The benefits of lifelong immunity among individuals and the goal of imparting complete protection to entire population is an important driving force in the efforts to discover vaccines against parasites. In recent years, the development of specific diagnostic tests for the parasites has been one of the major successful applications derived from basic research in immunoparasitology. Clearly, further advances in basic research are on the horizon, and the application of this new knowledge will benefit both medical and veterinary parasitology. These are the applications and scope of parasitology in different fields. Now we are talking on the important aspect of parasitology, that is a parasite host and their types. Do you know what is a parasite? Okay, a parasite is a living organism which receives nourishment and shelter from another organism, that is host, where it lives. For example, fleas, ticks, parasitic mites, leeches, tapeworms, roundworms, flukes, plasmodium, flies, mosquito, bedbug, etc. What is host? The organism which harbors the parasite in or on its own body is called as host. Many domestic and wild animals act as the parasitic hosts. Now see the different types of parasites and hosts. First of all, we discuss about the types of parasites. There are several types of parasites depending on their relationship to the host. They are classified in various ways depending on the taxonomy, habitat, degree of parasitism, variety of hosts, then locomotion in the host's body and behavior. On the basis of their habitat, parasites broadly classified in two types such as ectoparasites and endoparasites. The ectoparasites that lives on external surface of the body of the host is called as ectoparasites. Skin of host, that is tick or hair and feather, that is head louse. Ectoparasites like mosquitoes and bed bugs suck the blood from human skin. These are the examples of the ectoparasites. They are not fully dependent on the host. They are not permanently attached to the body of the host. The second type is endoparasites. The parasites live within the body of host in locations such as alimentary canal, liver, lungs, blood as endoparasites. Examples like protozoan parasites, helminthic worms, etc. Again, these endoparasites are classified depending upon their occurrence in different organs and tissue of the host, such as superficial endoparasite and visceral endoparasites. Now see the superficial endoparasites. These endoparasites live on epithelial surface of the alimentary canal and some live in the lumen of the tract. For example, ascaris and hookworm. Ancylostoma duodenal live in lumen of gut, and entamoeba species occur on the epithelial surface. Visceral endoparasites. The parasites live inside the tissue like blood, muscles, etc. They are classified into the following types. Blood or hemoparasites. The parasites live in blood cells or blood plasma. For example, Plasmodium, Trypanosoma, blood fluke, Cystosoma. Then lymph parasites. The parasites live in lymph vessel called lymph parasites. For example, Wucheria bancrofti or filarial worm live in lymph vessels of the host. Organ parasites. The parasites live in particular organ and cause damage to its organ called organ parasites. For example, liver fluke or Fasciola hepatica lives in bile duct of the liver of sheep. Then muscle parasites. The endoparasites live only in muscles of the host. These are called as muscle parasites. For example, Trichinella spiralis. Then tissue parasites. The parasites live in subcutaneous tissue of the host. For example, Dracunculus medinensis is the example of the tissue parasites. The parasites also classified on the basis of time spent on host. Number 1, temporary parasites. Those parasites visit their hosts for the short period and take the food from hosts. These are called as temporary parasites. For example, mosquitoes, bedbugs, and leeches. The parasites which live in the body of host for a prolonged period or throughout their life are called as permanent parasites. For example, tapeworms, liver fluke, ascaris, these are the permanent parasites. Further, the permanent parasites are of various categories. Periodic parasites. The number 1 is the periodic parasites. The parasites which remain with the host for only a part of its development and then leave the host and lead non-parasitic life are called periodic parasites. For example, the larval stage of the nematode parasites. Ankylostoma is a free living and found in soil, but adults are parasites in human intestine. Next is continuous parasites. The parasites which lead complete life cycle in the body of host are called continuous parasites. Some parasites complete their life cycle in single host only. For example, itch, mite, lice. Some parasites complete their life cycle in 2 hosts. For example, Plasmodium completes life cycle in man and mosquito. Some parasites which change the host, but the parasites are transferred from one generation of host to the next generation, and such parasites are called as transovarian parasites. For example, Babesia bigmina, this is a protozoan parasite. Next is the facultative parasites. The organisms that are not absolutely dependent on the parasitic way of life, but when opportunity arises, they lead parasitic mode of life. Such parasites are called as the facultative parasites. For example, Rhabditis larvae live as a free living organism in moist soil, but if entered in the body of earthworm, it leads parasitic life in the nephridia of earthworm. The next is obligatory parasites. The organisms which completely depend upon the host for their part of entire life cycle and cannot exist without hosts are called obligatory parasites. For example, Plasmodium, which cause the malaria, liver fluke, and the ascaris. Next is the occasional or accidental parasites. The organisms which attack on an unusual host and survive are called accidental or incidental parasites. For example, common liver fluke of sheep occur in dogs and cats also. Wandering or aberrant parasites. The parasites which live in the body of host migrate to place where they cannot live and survive. These parasites move in the body organ like kidney, liver, brain, and nostril of the host. For example, larval stages of ascaris. Next is a hyperparasite. Hyperparasitism means one parasite supports the life of another parasite. Parasitic wasp that lay egg in other parasitic wasp that in turn lay egg in caterpillars. For example, Nosema notabilis, which is a hyperparasite on a Myxosporidian, Sperospora polymorpha, a parasite of the urinary bladder of the toadfish, and the dog tapeworm larva develop in flea larva. These are the examples. Multiparasites or symparasites. In the body of single host, when two or more species of type of parasites live simultaneously are called as multiparasites or symparasites. For example, human host, Ascaris and Entamoeba, both parasites live in the intestine at one and the same time. It is also called as a mixed infection. When one or more species of parasites live in the host body of the same host, naturally they show competition for food and shelter. Therefore, they sometimes produce harmful effects so that one species may be killed or eliminated. But generally, parasites show cooperation to each other for their survival, and they restrict themselves in a particular area or organ of the host. For example, the various species of protozoan parasite, that is Eimeria, occurs in the gut of fowl. Some are restricted in small intestine and some are found in large intestine, where some occur in cecum part of the intestine. So these are the different types of parasites. Now see the types of hosts. The hosts are the organism which harbors the parasite in or on its own body. In any parasitic relationship, parasites is always benefited and host is injured or harmed. Parasites obtain various benefits such as shelter, nutrition, reproduction, and development from host. Depending on the needs of the parasite, the hosts are classified into the following different types: definitive host, intermediate host, paratenic host, and reservoir host. First of all, see the definitive host, the host in which the parasite becomes adult, reaches maturity, and passes its sexual reproduction is called definitive host. The parasite in which only one host is present and the life cycle of the parasite is completed in the body of host, it is also called as primary or final host. For example, Plasmodium vivax, definitive host is a female Anopheles mosquito. Then for Vaucheria bancrofti roundworm, definitive host is man, and for Taenia solium tapeworm, definitive host is man. Intermediate host, the host in which asexual or larval development of the parasite occurs, is referred as an intermediate host. It is usually invertebrate. It is also called as a secondary host. For example, Plasmodium vivax, intermediate host is a man. For Taenia solium, intermediate host is a pig. And for Vaucheria bancrofti, intermediate host is a female Culex mosquito. Third is a paratenic host. It is also known as a transport host or carrier host or transfer host. Sometimes the parasite enters a host in which it does not undergo any development but remains alive till it gain entry in the definitive or intermediate host. Such a host termed as a paratenic host. They are believed to bridge the ecological gap between the definitive and the intermediate host. They can be fish, worms, or other aquatic organisms that eat the nematode eggs or larvae. Fourth one is a reservoir host. Any animal that harbors an infection that can be transmitted to humans is called as reservoir host, also known as temporary host. In the absence of regular host, some parasites survive in the reservoir host. Reservoir hosts become the source of infection to regular hosts. Reservoir hosts are not essential for the parasite to complete its life cycle. For example, rat, pig act as a reservoir host for the Trichinella spiralis roundworm. Now see how the host and parasites interact to each other. The adaptability of species of parasite to certain species or group of host or host. Parasite being confined to certain host. Host specificity is nothing but the restriction of parasite to one or more kind of host. In nature, many free living organisms adapted to a particular environment, that is desert animals, cannot survive in extreme cold or polar regions. Phytophagous insects feed only on certain plant. Dung beetles found only in dung of single animal. This is true about parasites. Host specificity. The adaptation of the parasite and its ability to exist within the host are determined not only by morphological and physiological characters of the parasite, but also by its ability to overcome the defensive mechanism of the host. When the parasite finds the host conditions suitable for its existence, the formation of host-parasite system becomes possible. Therefore, specificity can be viewed as an affinity of the parasite for some definite host species or a group of species. Specificity represents certain stages in the evolution of the host-parasite relationship. It is an ecology-dependent phenomenon. Some parasites are specific to host, infecting only a single host species. Some infecting a number of related species. Some infecting many host species. For example, pork tapeworm, Taenia solium, apparently can mature only in humans. So adult Taenia solium have absolute host specificity. The nematodes, Trichinellas, some infecting many host species. Example, the pork tapeworm, Taenia solium, apparently can mature only in humans. So adult Taenia solium have absolute host specificity. The nematodes, Trichinella species seem to be able to mature in almost any mammal. Host of parasite is determined by three factors. Number one, suitable condition for reaching to host and transmission from one host to another host. Second one, parasite should have ability to settle in host. And number three, favorable conditions should be in host for growth and reproduction of parasite. Types of host specificity. There are three types of the host specificity. Number one, structural specificity. Number two, physiological specificity. And number three, ecological specificity. Now see about the structural specificity. Some specific structures are developed in parasites through which they get the structural specificity in a specific host, such as thick cuticle, muscular pharynx, simple sense organs, minute resistant eggs. Hook and suckers allow it to hold on tightly to the wall of the intestine. Its flat body gives it a large surface area to absorb food. It has no need of a mouth or gut as it absorbs already digested food. It produces chemicals which neutralize the digestive juices of the host. It produces large number of eggs to increase chances of survival. It respires anaerobically as there is a lack of oxygen within the intestines. The tapeworms has both male and female sex organs, that is hermaphrodite, and can fertilize itself. This is because only one tapeworms can be present within the intestines. It lacks sensory organs such as eyes, as it does not need them. The second type is a physiological specificity. In some parasites, sensilla provides information on the biochemical characteristics of the wound, its wound site environment. They can use this sensory adaptation to detect minute differences in skin, tissue, temperatures. And this type of sensory information facilitates for blood-sucking behavior. For example, Haller's organ present on dorsal surface of leg in ticks. It is specialized in determining host locations, host odors, and also detecting the pheromones as well as other sensory functions. Some protective mechanisms are found in parasites. Most of the parasites live within the body of host and hence have to protect themselves from various substances produced by the host. For example, the parasites living in alimentary canal of the host has to protect itself from the action of the digestive juices of the host. The tapeworms accomplish this by stimulate the wall of gut to produce mucus, which then forms a protective clothing around the parasite. By secreting anti-enzymes to neutralize digestive enzymes of the host, that is, in order to protect themselves from being digested by the host's digestive enzymes. Parasites produce some substances which inactivate the host digestive enzymes. Green, a scientist in 1957, reported the presence of trypsin and chymotrypsin inhibitors in the body wall of Ascaris lumbricoides. Parasites continuously renew their protective body covering, that is integument. Lime cells in the body wall of tapeworms neutralize the acid produced by the host. Parasites possesses high range of pH tolerance, that is 4 to 11. Blood parasites are known to withstand the effects of antibodies and phagocytes by some mechanisms. Nutritional factors also contribute for the host specificity. The nutritional requirements of the parasites are fulfilled by the host, trematodes and nematodes, which possesses an alimentary canal. Though reduced feed on both digested and semi-digested food, in cystodes, alimentary canal is absent. They feed on digested food only. Microtracheas, tegument, etc. help in absorption of food. Now see some other physiological adaptations in parasites to specify the host. That is respiration or anaerobiosis. The intestinal parasites live in an environment completely devoid of free oxygen. The respiration is of anaerobic type, consisting of extraction of oxygen from the foodstuffs. In the absence of oxygen, energy is obtained by the fermentation of glycogen, in which glucose is broken down into lactic acid. Next is the osmoregulation. The osmotic pressure of the body fluid of endoparasites, especially in case of trematodes, means flukes, is almost the same as that of the host, so there is no necessity of osmoregulation. But in the intestinal worms, cystodes, the osmotic pressure is slightly higher than that of the surrounding medium. This permits absorption of nutrients through their body wall as they lack alimentary canal. Next is the periodic appearance. There are some parasites which appear at definite period. The microfilaria of Vaucheria bancrofti circulate into the peripheral blood circulation in the night between 10 p.m. to 4 a.m. period. When Culex bites a man, nocturnal habit, since they require Culex mosquitoes for further development. Thus, their migration is correlated with the nocturnal habit of Culex mosquito. Next is the neoteny. It is a special phenomenon in which the larvae are capable of reproduction and they produce young ones. Ligula, it is one of the cystode parasite, exhibits neoteny, and this can be considered as an adaptation for parasitic mode of life. High fertility. Parasites develop enormous fertility, producing millions of fertile eggs. This is correlated with the passive transference of the infective stages of the parasites from one host into another. While passing through the complex life cycle, these potential offsprings face several hazards, as a result of which a very small percentage of the total egg produced reaches adulthood. For example, Fasciola hepatica, if the eggs fall in water, if the first larva, that is a Miracidium, finds a suitable snail within a limited period, if the Cercaria insist on vegetation within the reach of final host, and if the Metacercaria happen to be ingested by the proper final host, only then the life cycle is completed. The larval stages also multiply, that is a sporocyst produces a number of radia. A single radia produces a number of Cercaria larvae. Similarly, a single hexacanth may multiply by generating buds which produce daughter and granddaughters scoliosis in hydatid of Echinococcus. Next, use of the host hormones. Some parasites use hormones of the host, that is, life cycles of frog and the frog trematode parasites, Polystoma integerrimum, infecting it synchronize. It has been seen that when the frog produces eggs, the parasite also produces eggs. This means that frogs secrete some hormones for producing eggs. The same hormone are used by the parasite to produce the eggs. Ecological specificity.
The third type of specificity is the ecological specificity, ability of parasite to infect a compatible host as the result of ecological opportunity. An example was reported by Schiller 1959. He tested ability of tapeworm, that is a Vampirolapis nana, to infect a variety of mammals. Some mammals are not known to harbor this parasite in naturally. It was observed that some of the occurred susceptible. Thus, it shows that the reason that they do not harbor Vampirolapis nana naturally is the lack of opportunity. The inhibition of infection naturally due to ecological barriers, known as ecological non-specificity. The basis for ecological specificity need not always be special, means the accessibility of infective form of the parasite to the host. It could have food selection as a basis. Example, Schiller has shown that gray squirrel is readily infected with Vampirolapis nana in the laboratory if it is maintained on a diet of dog biscuits, but if it is fed with its natural food consisting of acorns, fruit of oak tree, or the mushrooms, it cannot be infected. It indicates that gray squirrel is not naturally infected because in nature its diet lack a component supplied by dog biscuits. So in this way, today we studied about the concept and importance of parasitology, the career opportunities for parasitologists in different fields, the various types of parasites and their host, and how they interact to each other. So I hope this lecture would be helpful to enrich your knowledge and create your interest to study the various important aspects related biology of parasites and their medical importance. Thank you.